Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Honest Tattooers. Your social media sucks, and that's why you're here. So we're going to talk about how to get better at social media, how to promote yourself better, but most of all, how to become a good, honest tattooer that people want to watch. So stay tuned. Hey, what's up, guys? And welcome to Honest Tattooer, the podcast for tattoo enthusiasts and industry insiders. And each week, we sit with tattooers and we discuss their craft, share experiences, and offer some insight and advice on different parts of our industry. And this week, we're going to talk about social media, about marketing yourself, and we have a special guest. What's up, man?
How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty good, man. So real quick, I want you to introduce yourself and just let people know your name, where you're from, how long you've been tattooing.
I'm Christopher Lee. I've been tattooing for 10 years, and I'm from Newburgh, New York.
Awesome. Nice. And as always, I have my co-host.
Hey, John, what's up?
What's up, brother? My name is John Mesa, and I'm glad to be here with you guys today.
I know, you just came back from Philadelphia. Mm-hmm. You did the convention over there. So why don't you talk about that? How did that go?
It was pretty cool. I brought my own clients, and I was working on this kid's whole sleeve of nature. We just finished up wrapping up the house and like the background of the trees, and then kind of finalized that.
Black and gray?
All black and gray, yeah.
You've been doing black and gray mostly for pretty much as long as I know you, but you do a little color here and there.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah. I enjoy everything.
Yeah. Cool. Overall, though, the convention was a success, you think?
For me, yeah, because I always gain knowledge out of it. Right. It's always a learning experience.
For some of you guys, if you don't know, so the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention is probably the biggest tattoo convention in our country. It has the most people, the most artists. I mean, the last year I did that convention, there were like 1,000 booths or something like that. It was insane.
Is it 1,000 booths or is it 1,000 artists?
I think it's booths.
Booths?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
I mean, either way, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. That's a lot. And in years past, I mean, like I said, I haven't been there in a while, but in years past, it's been, one of those places where you get to see how big the tattoo industry really is. Because one thing about that convention, and there is really no there's no quality control there. Yeah. It's just, you got
It's a free-for-all.
It's a free-for-all convention. You're going to have...
That's a lot of the reason why I stopped going to that convention.
Yes, same. But I think that going to conventions like that really puts into perspective how big this tattoo industry really is, and how sometimes the guys that are doing amazing tats, you know what I'm saying? If you make a pyramid of the tattoo industry, the guys that are doing those sick, amazing tats that are there's a lot of them, but honestly, there's not that many of them. The guys that are crushing, it's just a small, part of that top of the pyramid of tattooing, and you have people that are if we think about the people that are literally just very green, very fresh tattooing, started tattooing, they just want to go to a convention to gain the experience, be around people that are really good, maybe learn and things like that. And that was kind of the reason why tattoo conventions kind of started to begin with. So tattooers could unite because they wouldn't see each other in social media. That didn't exist. So people would get together. You get to see what everybody's doing. They would talk about trade secrets within each other, normally in the bar after you tattoo, you know what I'm saying? Things like that, or in hotels room, late at night. It wasn't like what it is today where they have a conference just to teach people shit and they charge them money for it. It's a time when, those secrets were passed after you developed a rapport and a friendship with other tattooers, and you would teach them, things that you have learned in your career and in your time, and things that were maybe passed down from their mentors and so forth, Yeah.
So I kind of turned down doing conventions maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't think I've done a real convention. When did we do Atlanta? What year was that?
Oh man, we did Atlanta.
I think that was the last real convention that I did. Was that 18?
Yeah, I think 2018, 2019, one of those. Yeah.
And even that one blew, right? Nobody showed up to that convention.
No, that convention was quiet. I mean, after that, I've done conventions that I liked. I liked the Toronto convention. I really liked that one a lot. Yeah. But the guy that threw that convention passed away. So now there's a new Toronto convention, which I think is also ran by Villain Arts. And again, they don't really do quality control. They just kind of let everybody rock. And that's one thing where I think like old school days, it's bigger in Europe, but conventions put on by like Mickey Valletto, out in Europe, like the old London tattoo convention, the old like Paris tattoo convention, like those are like elite top of the line tattooer. To get in here, you need to be good. Like you're not tattooing here unless you're really good. The Brighton tattoo convention in England also, you need to be good to be here. If not, it's not going to happen.
I mean, that's the only reason why I'm willing to do this Hudson Valley convention with you guys, is because it's invite only.
Correct. It's invite only. And they're trying to kind of, it's a newer convention, but they're trying to establish that, mentality of like, in order to get in here, you have to been, kind of recognized by your peers that you're meant
worthy.
to be. Yeah, you're worthy to be around this group of people that worked really hard to get here and stuff like that. And for that, I think that conventions are really good.
Yeah. Let's, I mean, I know this is kind of off topic of what we're supposed to be talking about, but so if you've never been to a tattoo convention, especially one of the Villain Arts conventions, not only are you going to see a bunch of tattooers working in booths tattooing their clients, there's a lot of just general artists there, like selling their artwork. There's going to be vendors selling clothing, jewelry, other little tchotchkes and things, crafts that they've made, right? And then there's performances. And all weekend long, there's going to be like side shows. There's going to be
terrible bands that are going to annoy you.
Yeah. What?
The suspension.
Yeah. So
that happens.
There's but you know what? Like, as much as it sounds like there's a lot to see, you see all of it on Friday, and then Saturday, like, man, I just saw all this. Like,
it repeats itself every day. It's just in a different scale, like different tattoo contests every day.
Right.
Different. Now always they would have like the tattoo girl contest. You know what I'm saying? Just a girl with a covered in tattoos. Sometimes not. But still trying to compete. It's like the Miss Tattoo of whatever convention you're at. You know.
I always tell people that if you've never been to a convention, it's worth going to. It's worth experiencing it. I don't know if it's worth it to go all weekend long just to go see what it's like. Go one day, check out the artist there, maybe buy a couple of cool stuff, get a cool t-shirt or whatever, see one of the performances, but it's not worth it to go all weekend long if you're not actually working there.
I think though, all right, unless you're a tattoo artist, if you are a tattoo artist and you want to learn from people that you've looked at their work on Instagram and you like love their tattoos and you're a tattoo artist and you want to tattoo with those people, I would have people that would come and watch me tattoo from beginning to end. They would just sit right behind in the back, just stand, walk away, go get a drink, come back and watch me do the whole tattoo.
Yeah.
Sometimes, they would just establish a little bit of conversation, tell me who they are, how long they've been tattooing, that they liked my stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's important. If you're just standing there like a creep, that's kind of weird, right? All day long for 8 hours.
I mean, it is, but it's not, because sometimes they're just, I've dealt with a lot of shy people that they didn't really want to say much, but they were like, oh man, it looks good, man.
Yeah.
And then eventually I'm like, do you tattoo? And they're like, yeah. And I feel like that does make a difference. But like, the experience that you would get if you were an apprentice at their shops, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You get to go there, see what they did. If you're smart, man, go see their fucking stencil that they made. You can see all of that.
There's definitely a lot to learn there for sure.
There's a lot to learn. So if you're a tattooer at that stage in your career where you're like, oh man, I want to see how these dudes knock out these fucking realism portraits, you can literally go to the tattoo convention, look at them make the stencil, look at them put it on, look at the colors that they're picking out, everything, And then if you're cool and you're nice, buy a piece of their merch, establish some conversation and be like, hey dude, what colors are you using right there? What kind of needles are you using there? If you just establish a solid conversation there, dude, you can learn a lot in tattoo conventions. It's like a nice little school for tattooers.
One thing that we didn't mention too is that seminars happen at conventions.
Yes.
So, if this guy that you're looking up to isn't willing to give you some free information, he might have a seminar. You can go in, pay a couple of bucks, sit down for an hour or two, and he'll give you a whole slideshow of his practice.
That's it. I feel like it's such a good technique. This week, so I started a sunflower on a dude's kneecap. And I was like thinking about how I would illustrate this because it is a kneecap and there's like limitations on the center and how it would be. And all I ended up doing was like the pattern, that Fibonacci kind of sequence of how it swirls into the center. I ended up doing that with just like dots and then just different size dots. So it really gave that effect, and it looked really cool. Thanks so much, man.
On Saturday, I did a bouquet of roses and it was this guy's wedding bouquet. I guess it would be his wife's, right?
Yeah.
He sent me a picture of the bouquet of flowers that his wife was holding on their wedding day. And I was like, cool, man. No problem. Right. And then the day of the appointment, I was like, just so you know, I'm not going to do this like the actual bouquet of flowers. He's like, yeah, I get it. I know.
Yeah.
So I like super simplified it. And luckily it was just roses. So I was able to just kind of like do my own style of roses.
Yeah.
I think there was like maybe 10 roses in the bouquet. I did 3. And then a couple of little leaves and, little boop, 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 boop,
Yeah.
things, put it like in the stem with the ribbon around it. So it looked like a bouquet.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I did. It was cool. It was white flowers too. So it went pretty quick, a little bit of opaque gray.
And
with the light
some
opaque
negative
gray.
space.
Yeah. All right. So Chris, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, you are in the process of opening up a new shop. How's that going?
Very tiring.
Yeah. Putting in a lot of hours, right?
Yeah, because tattooing, then the apprentice, and then the transition from the old shop to the new shop, and the town, what are those inspections? I was waiting for that, and pretty tiring.
Why did you make the move?
The old landlord sold the building I was in, and the new owner, he was just an asshole.
Okay.
So I worked too hard for my money to just want to give it away to someone that doesn't like communicate.
Did he raise the rent?
He didn't raise the rent. He was just, he didn't communicate. And I tried to have a meeting with him, and it took like 15 emails to get a meeting with the guy.
I mean, you had a good deal over at that other spot. That was,
It wasn't bad. It was $1,200 a month for 2,000 square feet.
Sheesh.
that's
Yeah.
great.
It's fire.
That's great.
That'd be sick.
With a brick wall.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty
No, that's pretty
sweet.
awesome. That is the biggest expense in owning a shop in the city. It's like rent, man. It just kills you.
Yeah.
Kills you slowly.
How are you promoting that you guys moved, that you're in a new location?
Everything by word of mouth. I've been kind of slowly getting off of social media so I could be a little bit more personable with everybody, with the public and society. So I'll put myself out there more because I've been such a recluse for so long. So I just been out there hitting the streets, talking to everyone, telling my clients to tell their friends, and the word's already out.
I mean, that works. I mean, it's been tried and true for how many years, right? Like
Decades.
I mean, that always works. But I mean, and this is where like, why do you feel that you can't do both?
I can do both, but I'd rather just put my energy into like one thing, because then it's just pretty draining.
Can you hire somebody else to do the marketing for you?
Yeah.
I could, but I feel like I always have I want to do things a certain way, and I would rather just do it myself. And it's hard for me to really trust people.
So before I was tattooing, I was working at an office job. And for some reason, the higher ups management, the CEOs of this company I was working for, they saw something in me that I was 15, 16 years old, and they were giving me more responsibility than the people who have been there for longer, who are much older than me.
Yeah.
Like they were giving me more of responsibility, like kind of overlooking what these other employees were doing. And they were asking me to train these older people. I was like, I'm like so young compared to these people. Like, I don't want to like step on anybody's toes. Like, I'd rather just do it myself. Right.
Yeah.
And this guy told me, he was like, if you can't teach somebody how to do things the way that you want to do it, you're fucking up.
Yeah. I agree to that 100%.
Yeah.
And that's one of the most challenging things in being able to scale any business. It's your ability to be able to get someone else to be as passionate as you about doing their position in their job.
Yeah.
And, when we had Nikki here last week, like she said, no one cares about my schedule and about me being booked as much as me or my husband, because we both need my income. You know what I'm saying? But so you look at it in a different perspective. But then, for example, sometimes it's harder to teach your front desk person or your shop manager that they're still in that position, that the person that's working for you needs to know that their salary comes in direct correlation to your success. So in order for you to be successful and for, they need to put in their effort and their work and their worth, and therefore they'll be successful. And the better that you do, then later they'll be able to tell you like, hey, since we've been working together, I've helped you be more productive, more successful. I've put in systems that help you increase, your bottom line, and you're making more money because of my presence. And then they can say, hey, I want more money for doing this job. And then at that point, you're like, fuck yeah, I'll give you more money because I have more money in my bank account because of your efforts. I sleep better at night without worrying so much because of your efforts. And that's way harder to do. But honestly, I've gone through a lot of people to do different jobs to support the business. And it's really hard to find someone that can see both the long-term motivation to be into something and the long-term effort of like, I'm building with this person. Like, we're building a long-term better position. And it's hard for a lot of people to see that. Like, I think like everybody's used to an immediate, like they forget that, yeah, I can charge a lot of money for tattoos now, but when I started for not charging for anything. It took a lot of time to get here. So then sometimes you'll hire somebody for a job and then you'll put a lot of stuff on their plate and they feel like it's a lot. And it's like, it feels like a lot because you're not good at it yet. If you were good at it, it wouldn't feel like nothing. You would do it so quickly if you were good at that job. So that means that one, you need to put the time and the effort to get good at this job. And after you're good at it, then you need to be able to surpass that expectation of what I'm asking for and then crush it. And then after you crush it, you can say, hey, I want more money for this job because now I've learned skills and I'm good at these skills.
To piggyback off of that too, is that if you train somebody to work the way that you want things done and they do it exactly the way that you want it, and then they worked at this, this process, this system, and they say, all right, cool. Chris wants things done this way. I'm doing the best I can to work this way. But now that I've been doing it for so long, I see that things could improve. And now, without you even knowing, your assistant, whoever this is, could modify the process a little bit and then come back to you, be like, hey, Chris, I know this is the way that you want things done. If we do it this way, we can do it faster. We could do it, cheaper. And then without you even realizing it, there is another process that might be more beneficial. So sometimes hiring out, and even without them doing that, you might even just have like this set idea that you've known to be true to work for you because it's the way you've been doing it for so long. Having a fresh set of eyes and hands on something who is, newer, maybe no software or whatever it is, they could be like, that worked 5 years ago, but now there's a better way to do this. Let me show you how it's done. And now you learn more.
Yeah. Like getting somebody, especially right now, being able to have someone in your corner that knows how to get things to happen through automation, where everything just happens through like a program, some AI or whatever, and they know how to make it happen so everything happens automatically. Man, that's super valuable right now, and like in any industry, really. Yeah. If you can find somebody that can help you automate your systems so things are happening smoother, faster, they're increasing overall the productivity of the shop, which helps you out, and the more you can focus on just tattooing and clients and not have to worry about all that other stuff, then you're crushing. But I think like it's really important to do what you're doing, which is like, I want to focus on my customer, on my outreach to my community in the real world. But at the same time, you need to get somebody else to focus on the other hand of things, of like, get somebody else to run an Instagram, run your Facebook, answer your messages, DM new followers and say, hey, thanks so much for following. Like, ask a question, establish conversation, because ultimately, even in that sense, that's kind of lending itself to the algorithm of things. Like, that's one huge thing. Like, if you, when you're on Instagram and you're, get a new follower, if you speak to them or they speak to you and you just say, you exchange any kind of conversation in a DM basis, all of a sudden Instagram considers that you and that person have a legitimate association to each other. You are more likely to be shown in their feed when they're scrolling through it, which is wild. Even if it's a sense of like, they posted a comment about you, like saying like, oh, I love that tattoo, and you don't respond, they don't consider that an established discourse, But if you go like, oh dude, I'm so glad you like it, like blah, 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 and you talk a little bit more and then they respond to that comment, like now you're more likely to, next time you make a post, to pop up on that person's feed just because of that interaction. So like, that's hard to do when you're a one-man show and you're doing tattoos, drawing, managing a business, etc. But that's why sometimes outsourcing all of these things can make us just run a lot more efficiently.
Yeah. It's important to realize that too. Like, so everybody talks about the engagement in Instagram. Like you want to have the likes, you want to have the comments, you want to have the shares. But what's just as important, like what John said, is that you want to engage with your followers too. That's almost more important.
Yeah, I got to use Instagram a lot more.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like
what you're saying too, that you want to be out there with the people in the flesh, like that's cool.
That's great.
It's great because you're creating a personal relationship with these people. But I mean, let's face it. Like, if anybody who doesn't know Newburgh, it's not the greatest neighborhood, right? Like, maybe
city of Newburgh.
You're right, right. So Newburgh is slightly upstate of New York. It's a small little area. So if you're gonna be contacting, let's say, everybody in the town of Newburgh, everybody in the city of Newburgh, that's just a small little slice of the pie of the amount of people that you could be getting in touch with who would travel to come get tattooed by you.
Right. You want people that want to get tattooed by you from the county around your town. Like Matt gets people to travel from all over the world, you know what I'm saying, to come get tattooed by you. But ultimately, like I've always thought, like I just want people from my city to give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm more likely to finish a back piece on somebody that's from New York City than if somebody that's flying every 2 to 6 months to get tattooed by me from another country. You know what I'm saying? So like I want to knock out these big projects and do them quickly and see them every 2 weeks nonstop and spend, freaking 45 hours, 60 hours with this person and build a natural, real relationship. I get to know them, their friends, and then like you get to tattoo their friends and that keeps going. And I feel like that's ultimately the way that tattoo careers are built, But nowadays I feel like it's a combination of building that, of like, your local celebrityism of like, yeah, dude, that's my guy. That's my tattooer, That's like a great feeling for any tattoo artist when, your customers refer to you as, that's my dude. You got to get tattooed by my dude, bro. He's great, Like that's great. But then at the same time, you want to build your online presence because one affects the other, You're more likely to, especially when it comes down to money. There's, no matter how we like to say it, dude, online perception is huge when it comes to tattooing and in every other freaking industry, If I told you that, Chanel is only known in one place, nobody really would want to pay top dollar for Chanel. But if we go, Chanel is known worldwide and everybody agrees that it's expensive, then your worth becomes that, So I feel like it's really important to market yourself locally, but still advertise yourself globally and be able to really create a brand of like, oh man, that dude's tattoos are sick, dude. I'll fucking, like what Truiano's done, really, You've had people, you have your local customers, but you have people from many places be like, oh dude, I want to get tattooed by that guy. His shit is sick. I'll travel for that, and I feel like that's a great way to be. But it takes a lot of time and effort, especially online, of making sure your photos are well taken, that you're responding to your comments, that you're like answering your DMs. I made that mistake early on Instagram where I would get too many DMs and then I'm like, oh, I don't want to fucking respond to all of them. I'll ignore all of them,
Yeah. It's a slippery slope. I was the opposite. I mean, I hate to admit this, but I was this person that like, I wouldn't get that many DMs. Like I could clearly respond to them.
To the DM,
but for some reason, and you know me, like I don't have an ego with tattooing.
Yeah.
But for some reason I had this ego, like I had this conception that if I don't respond, it must mean that I'm busy. It must mean that I'm of a higher caliber because, I must be doing something more important than responding.
Than just responding to
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would purposely not respond to, or I would wait and I would respond like a couple of days later.
Yeah.
I don't do that anymore. I don't recommend doing that because you're only hurting yourself by doing that. But yeah, like that, like, man, I wish I can go back in time and be like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like that.
Yeah. It's like, thinking of like creating the illusion of like the club.
Yeah.
The club. Let's make these people waiting in line, and other people are going to want to wait in line because they see people waiting in line and then everybody gets inside. I'm like, this ain't even that packed, bro. Why you guys had us waiting here for any fucking reason at all? But guess what? I gotcha. That's why.
You know what I want to do so bad, dude? You ever walk down the street in New York City or anywhere really, but you're walking down the street and like you see a couple of people like looking at like a rooftop or like looking at something in the sky. And then what do? You look up, right?
Yeah.
All I want to do is I want to get like a couple of friends, come around from like different angles, make it seem like we don't know each other and just start looking at something that's not there.
Yeah.
And have people all around be like, what are we looking at? And see how many people we can actually draw.
Oh, dude, a lot of people.
Dude.
A lot of people. For sure.
Great.
Well, I think like, you know, in most things, I've learned that it's not so much about how hard of an output of work you put in at any given time, but how consistent of an output of work you put in at any given time, you know?
A good balance of
Exactly. Like it ain't about like doing like 100% and then like 50, then 20, then 100. Bro, just do 60, 60, 60, 60, 60. That's way better. When you attempt to do anything that you don't know how to do, just try to do it and then try to do it again and do it 10% better. That's it. And then repeat and repeat and repeat. You know, it's like, even if you don't know how to do something, just do it. And then next time, just try to do it a little bit better. And that's it. And just repeat that a bunch of fucking times. And after 5 years of doing that, you've probably become a master at that fucking thing that you started doing. You know what I'm saying? Like you've been crushing it, but it's just, you have to always look at yourself very critically, you know, like do what you did, look at what you did and be like, how can this be a tiny bit better next time I do it? You know, like what did I do or execute where it was like, oh, that's good, but it's not great, you know? And that's in any artist, in any level that you're at, you're going to look at your work critically. You know, you're going to be like, oh, that's good, you know, but like I could have done that just a tad bit better, you know?
So let's talk about, I mean, as tattooers, I think Instagram is the platform that all of us are using mostly, right?
Yep.
So let's talk about some of the things that we could do to improve our Instagram following and just our presence in general. And one of them right off the bat is just taking better pictures, right?
100%.
Everybody now should be using CPL and good lighting on their photos.
Yeah, it's not a fucking secret.
No,
Like,
it was a couple of years ago.
it was. They were like, dude, how are people getting these fucking photos?
Everybody knows. And if you don't know, so what you need to do is you need to put a CPL clip, and a CPL is a circular polarizing lens, right? You clip that onto your phone over the camera lens on your phone. And then with that, you have to have filters that go over the lighting that you want to have directly onto your tattoo. And ideally you want to have one light. And what you do is the CPL, you could rotate the lens so that it deflects the glare so that you're taking all the glare out of the tattoo. And it actually saturates the colors a little bit.
It does.
Which people are always like, man, you're fooling everybody. You're making a false representation of your work. No, you're not. Because if you look at the colors of the photos from your camera, they're always desaturated.
There is desaturated. So it does help you look at it in a little bit more truer light, you know, and, you know, depending on what you do afterwards, if you're doing even more manipulation of an image after that, yeah, then it can look ridiculous and completely like unbelievable. And people make careers out of that, guys.
Yeah.
People make careers out of doing unbelievable tattoos that, you know, after they're healed and you see them, you're like, what the fuck is this? Bro, this is not.
Yeah. You don't want to make yourself appear to be doing work that you can't actually do.
Yes.
Right? Like that, people are going to catch on and, you know, call you out on it. And, you know, that's just a spiral downhill that you do not want to be involved with.
You sit in a throne of lies.
But yeah, so good lighting, the CPL.
With photos and
A good phone.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
good camera, good quality phone, you know, spend the time, you know, if you want to spend the money on getting a camera, you should get a camera.
Yeah.
It will make
But you don't need it.
But
Like,
you don't need it.
everybody now should have, whether it's an iPhone or an Android, the cameras on your phone now, even if you have an older model, the cameras on your phone
Pretty good.
are good.
Pretty damn good. And you can
you know,
get great photos. You know, it's more of like what you're saying, well, like, you know, make sure your lighting's good, make sure your tattoo's clean, make sure that you let your colors bleed out completely so it's not like freaking still this wet and seeping, you know. It's a little bit of like you finish a tattoo, be patient. Let that tattoo relax. Let's have that tattoo chill. Like, Gabe is legend on this.
Yeah,
he'll have somebody here sitting for an extra hour, bro. Because he's like, no, not ready yet, bro. Like, I packed those light yellows. We're gonna wait.
And what's so funny about Gabe, I love you, man, but he'll wait for so long to take a good picture, but then he's kind of on like your side of the game where he does not give a shit about Instagram. Yeah, he does not give a shit about followers. He does not give a shit about like just social media in general. So like he's taking the time to make a good photo, I guess just for his portfolio, but like he's not really getting anything out of it on the.
Well, he gets some good photos sometimes of his. He actually does try to get some good photos of his tattoos.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He'll get the good photo, but he won't post them. He won't post them, or he'll post them and just not really engage with anything.
I'll post at 9 o'clock on a Sunday. I want all these fucking likes, bro.
Don't post on Sundays.
Don't post on Sundays, guys. If you're on social media, dude, and you want any kind of interaction, don't post on a Sunday. And don't post on a Saturday past 3 to 4 o'clock. It's just not fucking worth it. Maybe Sunday morning, but you're playing it fucking.
Everyone's in church.
You're living on the edge. Yeah, you're living on the fucking edge,
You can open up the analytics on your phone on Instagram and you can see when your followers are most active, and that's when you want to post.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you want to stick with. It works. And most of all, the algorithm can be taught, That's what it does. It learns of what you're doing. So like if you're constantly posting at different times, it's not learning. You're like keeping it guessing. It doesn't know what's going on, But if you make it consistent, it'll learn that you're consistent in these things. And the more direct, more consistent you are with your posts and all that stuff, the more likely it is to then show it to the same people or on the same time of the day. Think of your favorite TV show, bro, that you watched before there was, a DVR or Netflix. You know what I'm saying? It came on because you knew that it was coming around this time and you were excited to see it.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And that's how it works. That's how the algorithm works. It's like, every day around 9 o'clock, I post, and every day around 9 o'clock, you like it. That's the key right there. Those two things connecting makes a huge difference on like the way that social media plays on what you're doing.
Actually, something that I want to ask you, and I started to ask you this before we started recording, and I cut myself off because I wanted to save it for the podcast.
Yeah, we all.
So, since I've known you, I feel like you have owned and gotten rid of like 6 or 7 shops.
I think this is number 5.
Holy shit, dude.
This is the 5th one.
That's fucking wild.
Yeah. And I haven't really known you all that long. I think we met in 2012, 2013, something like that.
Yeah, I was like at the beginning of the career when I was sponsored by Eternal Ink.
Yeah.
And
You're not sponsored by them anymore?
No, I dropped them.
Okay. So yeah, what was the reason why you kept moving shops?
But the first one I had a private studio, and that was with my old mentor. And then I just got rid of that because they kicked us out because of him, because he was too loud.
Okay.
He was too loud.
Yeah, he was loud and mouthy with everybody.
Oh, shit.
And disrespectful. So I lost my lease because of that.
Damn.
So then I went to Highland Falls, and then the demographic was a little weird for me. So I left from there.
How long did you stay at that first shop?
About a year.
Okay.
So I started tattooing in 2012. I had landed an apprenticeship actually in Williamsburg. I still talk to the guy and to the girl that helped me out.
Oh, you did? I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I was on 54 Graham Ave in Brooklyn.
Oh, shit.
And NBA Tattoos, man. Shout out to those guys.
Nice.
And his daughter still tattoos, but she helped me get a apprenticeship there. And then I landed a shop with Jamie. I was working with him for a while, and then we traveled together. And then he closed his shop, and then we opened up the private studio. And then all that just went bad. So closed that, opened up a walk-in shop in Highland Falls, closed that after like 6 months, and then opened up another private studio because it seemed to work better, and then just got rid of that. I always wanted something different, something better. So this one I'm at now is actually, it goes back to what you said, like 10% better, 10% better.
Yeah, each time you feel like you've like stepped it up just a little bit more, learned a little bit more.
Yeah, so this is my dream shop.
It seems like you were only there for like a year.
The last shop,
time?
I was there for 5 years.
Oh, you were?
Yeah, I was there for 5 years. And just because the landlord sold the building And then I got this new spot.
Okay.
So you've been tattooing for 10. Were you there in the last, was that like your first 5 or like the last 5?
The last 5.
The last 5. Cool.
Yeah. So this is going to be the first time in my career, probably like the past 4 years, where I'm actually able to like just settle down and focus on me.
Cool. Awesome.
You know?
So one thing that Chris has always expressed to me is that at least for the last 5-6 years that you've had the other shop, and even the shop that you were at before that, it was always mostly just you. Right?
Yes.
You didn't have a lot of other artists working with you or alongside with you at the shops, right?
No, I mean, I've had people in and out, and we just never really had the same views. You know, like I'm a family man. I have like certain values, and no one ever met that. And I didn't want to mix all that with my life.
Yeah.
You know, it was toxic. So
yeah.
I mean, tattooing can be a very toxic place, to tell you the truth. I mean, like, you
100%.
know, like I am a person that loves to party. So if I hang out with people that like to party, I'm going to end up partying. It's kind of the way that it works, you know?
yeah.
So like, yeah, I can understand that. Like, you know, like to try to just surround yourself around people with aligned values, you know, and lifestyles that you want to be around, and that will get you there or keep you there. You know, if you're around people that want to party and drink all the fucking time, you're probably going to party and drink all the fucking time. Yeah. If that's not what you're trying to do, they'll be around those people. Yeah. Plain and simple. You know?
So, if you had more people in the shop who all had their own social media accounts, tagging the shop, collaborating on posts with the shop or collaborating with you, that it would kind of like make you see the potential of what could go on, but because it's just you going on, it's like a little bit slower and it's kind of turning you off.
Yeah, 100%. If I had all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough being by yourself, man. Even just, you know, social media aside, just being by yourself, like you want to have other people there kind of like feeding off of you.
Dude, I asked you today I was tattooing. I must have asked him his opinion about at least 4 different things. You know, I was like, hey dude, how do you like this fucking thing? I'm like, I don't know. Boom, change it. You know, I'm going to try this. Boom. What color do you think I should do on this? You know? And it's like, at the same time, it's like you have your internal voice that's telling you something, but at the same time, you want that external validation from somebody who you respect, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Like it's huge, you know? It's like, I feel like this is the right way. And then you're like, you think this is the right way? And they're like, yeah, bro, that's the right way. And you're like, all right, cool, let's go. You know? You should do that. Yeah, dude, you're good. You know, like, all right, cool. You know, and I feel like that helps you be better, you know? And, you know, like I was telling Vega, who's the apprentice here today, I was like, hey man, like what's going to get your tattoo from being good to being like, oh, that's fucking sick, bro. It's like 5 minutes. You know, it's like a short amount of time of the whole tattoo. Like there's little things that will change a tattoo drastically, you know, even with your drawing, even with your placement. Like, oh, that tattoo was sick, bro. If you would have put that thing facing the right way, then it would have been perfect, bro. Yeah. You know,
and you can go years, and you can post like every tattoo, not knowing any of these things because there's no one there, you know, by your side. Be like, hey man, you know, that you should have, you know, done. Just flip it a little bit.
Yeah. Maybe you should have just flipped that, bro. Yeah. Maybe you should have outlined that thing that you didn't outline. You know what I'm saying? Like there's
Although last week you did a tattoo on some guy's forearm and I was like, yeah, that's cool, but it's backwards. And you're like, no, it's not.
I love it.
We were, you know, clashing back and forth. What's the right way to position this tattoo?
Because that's a tricky thing. You know, like for example, like something even so simple as like, you know, is this front, but is this front? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, are the shoulders are facing in this direction, but the face is still facing, you know, the angle, or you could just switch it up completely. And it's like, that would look backwards to me, you know? So like, there's a lot of little things that like in a tattoo, it can change the way that it's perceived and like the spot where it is and the size that it should be and things like that really do matter a lot on if like a tattoo is like pretty good. Oh, like that's pretty good. Or somebody that goes like, oh, that shit is fucking phenomenal, bro. Yeah. You know, it's really small. And I always say, like, you know, when it comes down to greatness, bro, it's milliseconds, bro. Olympics, best athletes in the world. And number 1, number 2, milliseconds, bro. That's it. Very, very little.
But you know, what will bring you to the just okay to this is great? you got to listen to the people who are telling you and giving you the advice.
Yeah.
Right. We tell some of the guys here who are just like, nah, I don't care about social media. I don't care about posting. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to put my face out there. Like, if they listen to us, we're not telling them because, we feel, like we're higher than them. We're telling them because we know that this works.
Yeah. It's like, I've learned this. So I feel like a lot of times in tattooing, you have tattooers that are really good at tattooing, really good at like with their customers, but maybe they're bad at social media, or maybe they're bad at like other aspects of promoting themselves. And instead of trying to get better at those things, they say, I just don't want to do those things. Those things don't matter to me. I'm above, not even that they're above it, but it's like, I just don't find value in that. Right. So I'm not going to do it, And 9 times out of 10, those are the guys who are sitting around all day, not tattooing. Yeah. Cause there's like, hey man, you could have, if you have a 5-day work week and you tattoo 3 days, because you have a great rapport with, your community and you have good referral clients, maybe you could have tattooed 5 days if you would have spent a little bit of time building yourself in social media and, following up with the customers that you've already tattooed, et cetera. And it's a little bit more work. But like I said earlier, like everything feels like work until you get good at it. And then it's just quick. It's like, oh, I just knocked that thing out because I'm really good at doing these things now.
Right.
How have you done with the shift of tattooing going from images to video?
Oh, I enjoy it. The traction it's been tremendous. I've actually got more clients because of it.
I agree. Same here.
They see it and they're like, oh, I want more of that.
Yeah. I feel like video is a lot more like you have a lot more opportunity and a lot more like openness to show your work in a video format than in a picture format. But there's people that like taking videos. You have to think of so many more things than just having like a good image and lighting, but it's like your editing and, your angles and being steady and like all of these little short things that can make a video, make or break it, but I feel like it's definitely the way to really promote your stuff, especially right now.
Did we talk about InShot on the show last week with Nikki? I know we talked about it after show.
Yeah. I think we might've talked about it after show, but I think, I use InShot, but most of the time I've learned to shoot videos that will make good clips. That way I don't have to spend too much time editing a very long video on InShot. I just shoot 2 to 3 seconds, really short, good clips. Then they can be pieced together in a 10 to 12 second video.
And you do all the editing in app on Instagram?
In app, whether you're doing it on TikTok or on Instagram. The app knows that you've been in the app editing and it will reward you for spending time in the app editing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Like it does play a part in it. I've seen enough of a change from a video that I edited fully in, outside and then brought it into, either TikTok or Instagram and seen that the ones that were edited within app do better. Instead of just submitting one clip that's really long, just bring it into short little clips that you can just piece together within the app. Let's say you do InShot to have the 12 second, clip, once you get it into Instagram or TikTok, add some text there, edit the video by 2 seconds in the thing, like just clip it, just a tiny little bit. Like I want to clip 2 seconds out of that, and then also add maybe even a voiceover or of course, like I love that message that you sent me the other day that showed that a great way to grab your audience is to introduce some text in the beginning of your video. If you need to grab your people, you got 3 seconds, guys. You got 3 seconds to grab the attention of somebody, probably less than that. You got a second, but you want to grab them for 3 because after that 3 second mark, it shows, that on Instagram or TikTok, this catches people's attention and makes them stop. So I'm going to show this to more people, and that's attention grabber. It's the reel in. And then if your attention grabbing text says there's more information that's valuable to you in the caption, then they're going to scroll down to the caption as the video is scrolling, read it, and then they're going to go back to the video and finish watching the video. So you just turned somebody that was scrolling through a fucking bunch of nonsense, stopped, they read, they read again, and then they watched. And then that makes it a very relevant video. And then your video is way more likely to get high views and be seen by people.
I don't know how you would say that. It's a 3-step rule, a 3-step instruction thing. So step 1 is saying that if you put text on the screen, the text will stop the scroll, right?
Yeah.
So once people start seeing that there's text on it, instead of just keep going back, they're going to want to read it.
They want to read it.
And what that text is a teaser. So that teaser is what's going to make them want to read the caption. And that caption is where you're going to add the value and add the value in the description, which increases the watch time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All those little things like that. It's really, looking at your work, like how people that create 30-second Super Bowl commercials for millions of dollars look at their work. You know what I'm saying? They're like, hey, dude, we're going to pay $5 million for this fucking ad on the Super Bowl. These 30 seconds need to be phenomenal. Nobody needs to walk away and get a fucking buffalo dip wing right now because this commercial is going to be sick. You know what I'm saying? So look at your work like heavily. Like, shit, dude, I got 10 seconds to grab people and focus them on this, like it. And most of all, be like, my friend needs to see this, share. That's when you rocked it.
It's sad, but that's the way that you got to think about it.
Yes.
You can't think about your post as just like, oh, I'm going to just add something to my gallery now. Like, no, that's not what it is. You're making a commercial for yourself.
You're making a commercial for yourself. And like,
each post has to be a Super Bowl ad.
Yes. You're trying to knock it out the park every time, dude. Mr. Beast didn't become Mr. Beast because he does weak ass fucking videos, bro.
Very true.
You know what I'm saying? Like, guys, if you haven't studied or know who Mr. Beast is, you're fucking sleeping. And you need to go see who this guy is, how he's created this fucking mega fucking industry, and see he has many videos explaining how he looks at creating content, how quick people's attention needs to be grabbed, maintained. And there's so much wealth and knowledge that dude's shared because he's been doing YouTube for at least 15 years, like 10 or 12 years already, solid. And he's only like 20 something years old, but he started when he was like 12, So if you've been doing something so long, he's figured out the fucking formula. The guy's crushing it, So it's like, man, if you learn to really look at your work and be like, how can I make people just fucking fall in love with my shit and share with the people that they, like to talk to, be like, oh dude, you gotta look at this fucking sick ass thing, dude. And the more shares you get, the more your video gets recommended. And it just keeps it going. And, you get that snowball effect in your work,
Let's put something out on the table too, because a lot of people will tell you, oh, your follower account doesn't correlate with your sales, or it doesn't correlate with your clients. It doesn't correlate with your, how much money that you're making.
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't.
Yes and no.
Right. But it does at the same time.
But it does. Yeah.
Like if you're not posting and you're not, gaining new followers, and you're not engaging with those clients, then you're not going to make any sales. You're not going to get any new customers coming into the shop. So no, you're right. If, you could have 100,000 followers and be sitting in the shop with your thumb up your ass, not doing anything because you're not engaging with those clients.
Yeah.
But you could also have 200 like really loyal clients that you're constantly engaging with, and you're constantly, feeding off of each other. And, those guys are going to keep coming back to you because they know that, you guys have a good rapport with each other.
Yeah. One thing I learned through, so I have like 4 Instagrams, but like, I do tattoos, of course. And then I also do fashion content on Instagram. And the biggest thing that I learned so much about Instagram creating different content than tattoos, because I'm looking at things in a different perspective, So like creating fashion content, you start realizing that you're creating a community, and that's huge. Creating community builds followings, like the people that always comment on your post, you need to make sure that you always respond to those people, because if there's 10 people that every time you post, they comment on your post and they're stoked to be like, oh dude, another one, this is sick. Those are the people that build your following, your community, because they're the ones that are triggering that algorithm to say, oh shit, 20 people are liking this right away. Let's show this thing again to like 50 people and see what those 50 people do. And those are the people that are sharing it and doing all those things, and building that community really helps your content grow exponentially a lot faster.
So let's talk about the importance of that too. So if you have these, small group of really loyal clients or really loyal followers that are always commenting on your stuff, and let's say you're commenting back and you're engaging in conversation and they're like, oh yeah, fuck, this guy's like really, we're having a personal conversation. Like I'm really connecting with this person. Right. But then you start to slip, and instead of actually responding back to them, then you just like their comment. And now this person's like, oh, all right. I guess I got acknowledged, but it's not the same anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And then if you take it the next step further and they comment again and you don't do anything, now this guy's like, well, why am I going to bother commenting him if I'm not going to get any kind of engagement back? Now they're not going to comment on your next video.
No,
and now not. That's going to sacrifice your algorithm boost and all that. And like, so it's important. You got to really, stay on top of that stuff.
Yeah. And because of it's so engaging and so much work. That's why so many people say like, oh dude, this is draining as hell. I don't want to fucking spend time doing this. So it's like, I agree. It is draining. It's a lot of work. It's a lot more extra work than just, doing a really good tattoo is already a lot of work. Doing everything else after the tattoo, it is also a lot of work. But that's because the industry has gotten way more competitive. It's driven by different factors, not just like, I'm the tattooer in my neighborhood or in my town. It's more of like, oh no, there's a fucking ton. Just
you're competing globally.
Yeah.
Globally.
Yeah, for attention,
Man,
from people.
I didn't want to say anything to Nicole. And she probably won't listen to this, so I'm going to say it now. So she just started a Botox business. We've been talking about this, right? And she just started up her own Instagram account. Mm-hmm. And today she was like, I don't know what I'm fucking doing. Like, I'm not cool enough to do this. Like, why am I even bothering? I'm like, just do it.
Just do it. You'll figure it out eventually if you care.
I'm waiting. I'm so waiting for this Instagram account to start blowing up, and she's online all the time.
Just talking to people.
Yeah, because she's always on my case. She's like, oh, your face is always in your phone. What are you doing? I'm working.
I'm working, yeah.
I can't wait for her to realize like what it really takes.
What it really takes. Yeah. It does take a lot of diligence, like it's nice to think, some people have jobs where they can get off work and not think about their job again until next day at that time.
Yeah, not tattooers.
Tattooing is ain't that. Tattooing is not that. You're going to finish tattooing. You're going to go home. You're like, what do I got to tattoo tomorrow? What do I got to draw? Oh man, I got to edit the video of the tattoo that I did today. I got to think of a good caption for it. You got to think about all these things to be able to then repeat the process again tomorrow. Yeah. And I feel like all that extra stuff, if you've been tattooing for, I'm going to say, 10 to 15 years, at one point you didn't have to do that. So yeah, the idea that you have your job or your industry has added more work to promote yourself does suck. But guess what? Too fucking bad. It is the way of the land. You got to do it.
You could choose not to do it.
And then get left behind.
Yeah.
You're going to get left in the dust. You can choose not to do it, but it is what it is. It's kind of like, many artists were completely like, I'm never going to use an iPad. And now you're using a fucking iPad.
Man, I heard a great analogy today that this guy that I was listening to on a podcast today, it was a social media marketing podcast. And this guy was talking about, it was an AI conversation. They were talking about Midjourney. They were talking about DALL-E. They were talking about ChatGPT. And they were talking about how some people are just not cool with, getting on board with what you have to do to keep up with the times, right?
Right.
And he brought it back 20 years ago. He's like, do you think that the people who were traditional photographers, when Photoshop came out, they were like, oh, fuck Photoshop. You're not a real photographer if you have to edit your photos in Photoshop.
Edit your photo?
Yeah. And now, look at all the amazing stuff that's coming out of Photoshop.
Yeah.
Look at all the amazing artists that are doing stuff with Illustrator, right? Mm-hmm. And, same thing. Like, if you were a traditional painter 20 years ago and you saw people doing digital art, vector designs on Illustrator, they were like, oh, those guys, they're ruining the industry.
I've spent years trying to master this hand calligraphy. Like,
Yeah.
Now they're doing it like on these computer things. Like,
and
no,
now if you're a graphic designer, if you are an illustrator for whatever, and you don't know these programs, no one is going to hire you.
Yeah.
You need to know these programs. And that's going to be the same thing with all the AI tools, but it's the same thing with social media.
I agree. I feel like,
Or else you're going to be left behind, like you said.
that happens in in so many industries, but because tattooing built around this tradition and all these other things, it just hasn't, is not taken or received the same way than as if you were, a computer programmer and they're like, hey guys, we have a whole new system that we got to like input and this is what you're going to be doing. And everybody's like, all right, this is what we're learning, bro. Yeah. But in tattooing, they're like, oh no, I don't want to do that. That's some new shit. And I've gotten already really good at all this other stuff. And man, it's hard, guys. We get it, but we're here to learn and get better.
Yeah. So. And I think the hardest part about it is deciding whether or not what's more worthy for you. Should you take the time and do it yourself, or should you hire someone else to do it for you?
Or just hire someone else, like
it's a hard decision to make.
Yeah. I mean, for example, as I've grown in tattooing, there was one point where I handled all my appointments. I emailed every client. It was me responding to everything. And then as I got busier and I was able to afford to pay someone to do it for me, that was the first thing. I was like, man, I fucking hate doing emails. Yeah. I hate talking to people through email. I like talking to people in person, but this email back and forth is driving me nuts. So I'm going to hire somebody that's really good at talking to people over emails and get people in front of me so I can tattoo them and sell my work to them.
Chris, do you do all that stuff yourself?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. For now, until after tonight.
You're like, shit.
I'm like, I'm taking in all this information.
So you were saying earlier before we started recording that you turned down a lot of clients today.
Yeah. The past week was like 15 clients.
Those were DMs, those were emails. How did that come across?
Email and DMs.
Both.
Yeah. It was just the lack of information I needed. We all have like send a picture and all this kind of information. It was like a lack of.
Yeah.
I was like, next.
So that lack of information, I think I've said this before on the podcast. What I've done to streamline that and make sure that I get all of the information that I need right off the bat is I set up a request form through JotForm. Okay. And anytime that anybody says like, hey dude, I want to get a tattoo. And even if they start talking about what they want, I cut them right off. I'm like, fill out this form. And that form has everything that I want from them that they have to fill out.
The need to knows.
Yeah. And that way there is no back and forth and there is no like, fuck this guy, he's being a pain in the ass. Like I know everything now. And then that I can decide whether or not, this is the project for me, or maybe I can go for somewhere else. Because I've been with you before there, man. Like I know it's frustrating when like you're going back and forth trying to figure out like, what the fuck does this guy want before like, oh, what do you want? Oh, I want a tattoo. All right. What do you want? Oh, I want a tattoo on my wrist. All right. But what the fuck do you want, dude? Just like,
something sick,
something small, something small on my wrist. Like just fucking tell me what you want. Like I get it. Like it sucks. And I've turned down people before because of that reason. But, if you can streamline it and just be like, fill out this form, then I'll have the conversation with you. JotForm is a great way to start doing that.
Tell me if you've never heard this. I want a tattoo, medium size, not too big, not too small. Do you want it black and gray or color? Black and gray, but maybe a little bit of color. You're like, what the fuck?
You could do what you want, but wait, I want this drawing.
You can do what you want, but I want it to look exactly like this, but put your own spin to it. You're like, this is insane, dude. Yeah. Oh man. Those are the days that you're like, this is why I get paid, bro. To be able to like take this person's idea and just turn it into clay and make something cool out of it and just give it back to them. Like, all right, don't fuck this up, bro. Yeah. But I feel like it definitely makes a difference,
For sure. Cool, man. You guys got anything else you want to add?
I think when it comes to social media, I would say definitely if you're not good at social media, learn to outsource, if you charge $150 an hour, just raise your rate to $170 an hour and then pay $20 an hour to somebody that's killer and loves to do all that shit you don't like to do.
Yeah. That's easy enough to find too.
It's so easy. Yeah. It's easy, man. Like If you charge $100, charge 120, dude, and then just put it back to yourself. You're investing on yourself, you know? Just like you would invest on a course, you're investing on someone that cares about things that you don't care about that much to fucking crush it at that, you know? And, you know, don't be afraid to loosen the reins, you know, little by little to someone else. If you hire someone and at first they don't got it, but they have the determination and you can see that they have the drive to learn, you know, the systems and to learn the things to do how you like them to do them, you know, then little by little give them more and more and more until you reach a point where they're like, oh man, I don't even have to think about this anymore because how I want things to be done, get done efficiently and quickly. And because of it, we're all more successful. And, you know, it ain't no fun if the homies can't get none. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day. Yeah. So like and you're in a shop and you're a tattooer, you're successful, your shop's going to be successful. You're going to be able to have everybody around you is going to do better. And I feel like we all want to be in a point where we can all toast with our homies and, you know, and cheers to our success and cheers to the fact that we're all doing great, you know, but don't, close yourself out on either outsourcing or focusing on social media or somebody to handle your appointments or things like that, because somebody else might actually even make you better than what you think you could do.
Right.
Now that would be the best situation, you know?
Cool, man. I think that was a good talk.
Yeah, that was a good chat, guys. As always, make sure that you guys hit the subscribe button, follow us on YouTube, check us out on Instagram. You can follow me on John Mesa Tattoos NYC. Chris, where can people find you?
Christopher Lee Tattoos on Instagram.
Yep. And I'm Matt Truiano on Instagram.
And make sure that you support our Patreon guys at Honest Tattooer. And of course, always great to talk to you guys and make sure that we see you in the next one.
Bye.